Hello everyone, welcome back to the chat system series. In today's video, we are going to tackle a very important aspect of designing the chat application, which is choosing the right communication protocol for a chat application. The type of communication protocol you use will greatly impact your app's performance, reliability, and user experience. So let's try to explore why this is an important decision. Specifically, I guess you will be judged by this decision in your system design interviews. So first, why protocol choice matters? When designing a chat application, one of the first decisions we need to make is how to communicate between the client and the server. Should we use a WebSocket, HTTP polling, long polling, or even the server sent events? Each protocol comes with its own pros and cons, and the choice depends largely on the requirements of your chat application. So, in today's video, we will look at each of these protocols, understand their strengths and weaknesses, and see which one is most suitable for a real-time chat system like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. But before we do that, I guess it would be a great idea to just try to talk about the problem that the right protocol will solve. First, let's assume that we have a client 1. Let's make everything white and make this. And let's say we will copy this. We will have client 2 and we will have our chat service. Or the chat server. Why it doesn't want to be bigger? Okay. So when client 1 want to send a message to client 2, it doesn't send the message directly to client 2. It doesn't work like that. But what happens basically is that client 1 send the message to the chat server, and the chat server will send back the message to client 2. Or client 2 will try to fetch the messages every 2 or 3 seconds to see if client 2 have a message from client 1 or not. So in order to see that problem, that as you can see here, the server is sending something to the client, and in HTTP protocol, what happens basically is that it's a client server direction. It doesn't go back. So the client sends requests, the server sends back responses. So the server cannot send a response by itself. So in order to solve that, there is 3 or 4 different solutions. The first one will be the HTTP polling. Let's call it HP. HTTP polling. Let's type it and make it bigger and make it white. HTTP polling. And yeah, make it bigger. Okay, so first up is HTTP polling. Polling is the simplest method where the client sends periodic requests to the server to check if new messages are available. The client repeatedly asks the server, do you have any new data? So this is what will be in practice. So let's say that client 1 wants to send a client 2 a message. So the client 1 will send the chat server the message, okay, MSG for message. And client 2 will use HTTP polling. So the client 2 will send a request. For example, every 2 seconds, the client 2 will send requests to ask the chat server, do you have a new messages for me? And if the chat server have messages, it will send them back to the client 2. If it doesn't have any messages, it will send an empty request. So the pros and cons of this one, the advantage of polling is its simplicity. It's easy to implement and works well for very small scale applications. However, the major drawback is that it's extremely inefficient. The server is hit with requests even when there are no new messages, which leads to wasted resources and higher latency. There is other thing which called HTTP long polling. Let me just try to clear everything from this side here. So, in the long polling, we have HTTP long polling. This is an improvement over the simple polling. The server basically holds the requests open until there is any new data to send to the client. Once the client receives the data, it immediately sends another request to keep the connection alive. So basically, when the client to send a request, it will not get a response immediately. It will hold, for example, 1 or 2 seconds, and after that it will send back a response, and the client will send another request to keep the connection alive. Long polling reduces the number of unnecessary requests and make the chat experience smoother compared to regular polling. However, it still involves a lot of overhead since each message requires a new HTTP connection. It can be quite resource intensive for large applications. The second thing, I guess let's talk about the third thing, which was OB WebSocket. There is other solution with the server sent events, but let's say that I have never seen server sent events before in any system design interview, to be honest. So I will just go right ahead to work with WebSockets. WebSockets. Okay. So WebSockets, the protocol that's most suitable for real-time chat application is WebSockets, to be honest. WebSockets provide a full duplex bidirectional communication channel over a single TCP connection. Once the connection is established, both the client and the server can send data to each other at any time. So when it's basically when the client one sends the request to the chat server, and the client two basically has a bidirectional connection over WebSocket with the chat server. The chat server can send the request because it's a bidirectional, so that the server can send requests back. So the chat server can send the message to the client one, and when client two send a message to client one, the chat server can send them easily because we using a WebSocket because it's bidirectional. The server can send requests to the client without the client requesting them. The advantages of that WebSockets are extremely efficient for real-time applications because they keep connection open, which means there is no need to repeatedly establish new connections. This leads to low latency and instant message delivery, which is exactly what we need for chat application. WhatsApp, for example, uses a similar concept, although they use the XMPP protocol, which also provides a persistent bidirectional communication. For our chat app, we will use WebSocket to maintain a persistent connection, making it possible to exchange message instantly and efficiently. So, I guess yeah, that's it. That's it from my side. So to sum it up, choosing the right communication protocol is one of the most important decisions you will make when designing a chat application. We explore polling, long polling, and WebSockets, and we did choose WebSocket, and also we described that WebSockets are the best fit for building a real-time chat experience with low latency and efficient bidirectional communication. And yeah, that's it for this video, and see you next.